Today I wanted to talk about making holes in your stainless kettle or your fermenters for that matter. It's really the same process. So I got this brand new SSBrewtech tri-clamp kettle. It's got 2 ports on the front, which is great, but I want to also add a return port that I can use for a steam condenser at the top, but also when I'm doing recirculation. Also going to put in an element and a thermometer. Now, sure, I could have bought the eKettle from SSBrewtech. It's got the thermometer and everything built into the element. But home brewing doesn't always work that way. You buy one piece. Maybe you're not flush with cash and have like $1,000 to spend at once. So you buy things over time. So eventually you get to a point where you have something and you want to make it work with something else. And this is one of those times. So let me talk through some of the tools that you're going to need to make holes in your kettle. So first of all, I'd recommend a tape measure, just because these kettles or fermenters are round. So in my case, I wanted to put a port right up here, and I wanted it to be centered between the 2 handles. Because this is flexible, obviously it's a lot easier to find the center mark. You're going to want a pencil to make the mark. We don't want to do anything permanent until we know that we're happy. You're going to want an automatic centering punch. So what this guy does is, as you push down on something, it actually clicks and makes a little divot, little dimple into the stainless steel, so that when you start your drill bit, it's not going to move. It's going to stay exactly in that center where you made the mark. Next up, you're going to want some kind of stainless steel drill bit. I use this just to get my step bit started. Then you're going to want a step bit. So I got this Milwaukee set from Home Depot. I've used it for various things, but just a single step bit like this is going to do the job. And the reason they call it steps is because it's kind of looks like a Christmas tree, and it's got little steps that get you to the next size. You're going to want a punch. This is the best way to make a hole in a kettle. You're going to get a nice round hole that you're just not going to get with, say, a carbide bit or something like that. So this is a Greenlee 1 5/8 inch punch. The way it works is, let me unwind this just a little bit. So we're going to put a hole in the kettle that is the diameter of this thread here. Once we do that, we can thread this and put one side on one side of the kettle and the other side on probably the outside of the kettle. And then we're going to turn this bolt. It's going to draw in like that, and it's actually going to punch this nice little hole into the side wall of your kettle or your fermenter. Something else that I would recommend, this is what I have on hand with some kind of oil to cut down on the heat, provide lubrication while you're drilling. And then the other thing, which I think is important, is the actual weldless fitting. So the ones from Brew Hardware, they work very well. I have them at the bottom of my kettle, the top of my kettle, never an issue with leaking. So the way this guy works is this piece here goes on the outside. So it's going to look very similar to the SSBrewtech ones that are welded. The nut and the silicone O-ring are going to go on the inside. You're going to tighten it down nicely, and you're not going to have any problems with leaks. I'd also recommend that you pick this tool up. So this is basically a big socket that fits the weldless nut, and that lets you tighten it. Otherwise, most people don't have a wrench or socket this size at home. You could probably use pliers, but that's kind of primitive, Pete. I mean, really, you should be using the right tool for the job. All right, so what I've done ahead of time is I've gone ahead and I've made a mark. I'm sure you can't see it in the camera, but I've made a pencil mark right here. And I'm going to use my automatic centering punch to make a dimple there. So by the way, before you get started, you want to make sure that you've planned everything out, right? You've got one chance to make this hole, and if you make a mistake, you're going to have to live with it. So you want to make sure things like your lid's going to clear. You got to make sure that you have all the parts on hand. So like if you're going to do a false bottom, you're going to do a hop stopper, you're going to have a dip tube and all this. Make sure you have everything together first, so that when you put everything and lay it out, you're not going to have any surprises about something hitting something. So first thing I'm going to do is get my automatic centering punch. Now there's no going back after this. So I've made my mark here, and I'm going to press this until we hear it click. And let me see if I can show you what that's done. So here on the very top of the kettle, there's a little dimple right there in the mark. Now I've got my drill. I've got it set on the drill setting so that the torque limiter won't kick in. I got a little bit of lube here. By the way, I got a drop cloth too. Not a bad idea. Alright, so now the drill bit just sits right in that dimple. It's not going to wander now. Alright, so that's the first hole through. So with the first hole in place, I've changed over to the step bit now. I put some lube on it as well. We're going to keep going until that thread will fit through the hole. So now this guy will pass through. Go ahead and feed that end in. Now screw this one. Just changing angles here so you can see. So I've got the punch all ready to go. Really then it's just a matter of winding this nut, drawing that in, and it'll make a nice little hole. You'll hear it pop. Alright, so there's one other tool that might make your life easier I forgot to mention. You can use an adjustable wrench on these punches, but I've got a 1/2 inch socket. Nice beefy guy here. Much easier to use. By the way, this is an 11/16. So initially, pretty easy, but it's going to get harder. Alright, I'm actually breaking a sweat here. This SSBrewtech metal, pretty good stuff. I'm close though. I think it's going to pop soon. Oh, there it goes. Keep going, you're not done yet. There we go. So you know you got it. And it comes all the way through like that. Tell you, this guy's a little warm. It's been doing some work here. And let's have a look at the hole. So now we got a nice round hole for the weldless fitting. Let's go ahead and do a test fit. Now, I'm not going to put this in just yet. Reason being that I'm going to want to clean this really well, passivate it, all that good stuff. So there you have it, it's going to go on something like that. So now I've got my weldless fitting in there, just doing a test fit of my condenser. Looks like it fits great. No interference with the lid or anything. Lid fits tight. And if we look inside, you can see it's not going to interfere with anything. Looks great. So now I've test fitted the neoprene jacket after I punched the hole inside here. So next up I'm going to want to basically do the same thing to the neoprene. So I've gone ahead and marked the center of the hole and also outlined it. So now that I know everything fits well, what I did is I went ahead and punched a hole out in my neoprene jacket. And you can see I got just like an absolutely perfect hole. And what I did is I got these cheap punches off Amazon. I don't plan to use them for much of anything else. And I wedged it between two pieces of wood and hammered right through it. And I ended up with this perfectly round hole. Got the jacket back on. Let's see how this looks. I mean, apart from the fact that it's not welded, that looks just like a factory hole. I like it. Now we've just got a couple more holes to punch here. There's going to be one here where the SSBrewtech element would go, and it's also got the thermometer built in. And then I'm also going to punch one more hole over here. It's going to be for the heating element. Alright, now I'm working on getting the punch through. And I found with this guy I needed a lot of leverage. So what I did was I turned the kettle over and pressed down. Not unlike if you're, taking off a tire or something like that. It's just easier to have a little bit of leverage. I'm still sweating my ass off though. Alright. Just a quick note about safety. It's kind of an excuse to take a break. Probably should have been wearing safety glasses. Something else to mention, these metal shavings, they are sharp and they go everywhere. So really good idea to put down a drop cloth or something like that and make sure you get rid of everything, sweep the floor. Probably wear shoes. We're getting close, she's gonna pop. There goes the first pop, and the second pop, and you never got it when you can pull the punch all the way through. Stage 2, so I've got the one hole in the back there. That is probably where the thermometer is going to go. That's what works best for me. It's 2.5 inches on center from the bottom, which is exactly the same as the one from SSBrewtech, so I thought I'd stick with that. And also, it's going to work well with the false bottom that I've got. Two here, I think. So I've now got my thermometer fitted in there as a test fit. I've got my side return port here, which is going to be used for my steam condenser as well as my BIAB recirculation. More to come on that. So if we rotate around, this is what the side looks like. You can see I got a nice round hole in the neoprene. This is what the thermometer looks like. That used the existing SSBrewtech hole. 2.5 inches off the bottom. Alright, so to give you a view inside the kettle, give you an overview of what we've done here. So we've got two holes opposing each other. They are 14 inches apart. The one on the right that was in the original location for the SSBrewtech element. The one on the left is going to be for my element. This will be for my thermometer. The holes are 2.5 inches from the table, measured from the outside. And then on top of that, I've added this return port that'll be used for BIB recirculation, as well as my steam condenser. Alright, so I had to go to Home Depot, get some TSP, and I figured out that I'm going to need at least a whole box. So this thing calls for half a cup for every 2 gallons, so this is over 20 gallons that's going to be in this guy. I've capped off all the holes with blanks. The other thing I did is I went ahead and disassembled completely, like the whirlpool valve, took the inserts out, took the handle covers off and everything. We're going to get all the machine oil off all this, even like the tube dam, took the O-rings off. So next up, I'm going to fill this kettle up with all the way up, put all the TSP you see over there, and then we're going to let her soak. Alright, now we're letting this thing soak with TSP, filled it up to the top. So once everything was clean, next step is to passivate it. And SSBrewtech recommended using Star Sand at a rate of, was it 1 ounce per gallon? And with an over 20 gallon kettle, that was going to get really expensive really quickly. So another approach that you can use is Barkeeper's Friend, and you make a paste up, sort of like a runny paste, and work it all over the kettle. Be careful of your etchings. I wouldn't use it on your etchings. And then let it sit for a little bit, and then rinse all that off. Probably wash it again with dish soap, and then after that you should be good to go. So after the kettle was cleaned with TSP, I kept going over it and discovered it was still a little dirty, so I ended up using some Dawn dish soap to keep on cleaning it. So I did another pass of that inside and out, and then as a test I would just keep wiping it with a paper towel, and that guy should come completely clean. If you're still getting black, there's machine oil in there. So here's the end result, everything together. Got all the valves assembled here. Inside, we've got the element and the thermometer. We've got the side port for the condenser and the return. Here's the side view of that. And this is all going to be controlled with this Blickman Brew Commander.